Hey friends, what up? Welcome. What's up, friend? What's up? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf 55, Daf Nunhei, Daf 55, Masechta Sukkah. Friends, second to last Daf of Masechta Sukkah. Exciting times. Cool. What do we talk about? So the first Amud, we continue with the opinion of Rav Acha Reb Chanina, who says that you blow the chatzotzris for each and every musaf that would be offered. So going back to our example, so let's say it's Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, so you would blow the chatzotzris for Shabbos, musaf of Shabbos, as well as for the musaf of Rosh Chodesh. The second amud of today's daf, we discussed like the mishmaros and the Beis Hamikdash and how they would be divided up on like sukkahs in terms of how they divvy out who does which korbanos, and then another mishnah. So that's like one mishnah on Nunhei Amud Beis, and then there's another mishnah which also discusses how the mishmaros would divide up the korbanos on the shalosh regalim in general. Friends, let's do it. So we're on Daf Nunhei Amud Aleph. Where? Third line, Meisvei. Yo. Meisvei, we have a kasha. Kasha on what? A kasha on Rav Acha Reb Chanina. Rav Acha Reb Chanina had said that Rav Acha Reb Chanina had said that whenever you had multiple musaf offerings, so you would blow the chatzotzris 9 times for each one. Okay? So again, as I said a minute ago, if it's Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, so then you're going to blow the chatzotzris 9 times for the musaf of Shabbos, as well as 9 times for the musaf of Rosh Chodesh. So Meisvei, we have a kasha, however, the Tani Rave Bar Shmuel, that Rave Bar Shmuel taught, Yochol, is it possible, Kshem Shetoken al Shabbos b'fnei atzmo, Rosh Chodesh b'fnei atzmo, is it possible that just like we blow the chatzotzris for the musaf of Shabbos, and separately, we also blow the chatzotzris for the musaf of Rosh Chodesh when it's not Shabbos, so let's say Rosh Chodesh is on a Wednesday, so we would blow the chatzotzris when we bring the musaf of Rosh Chodesh on that Wednesday. And then comes Shabbos, we offer the korban musaf of Shabbos, and we blow the chatzotzris as well. So is it possible, Yochel, I'm going to read that again, Yochel k'shem shetoken al Shabbos b'fnei atzmo, Rosh Chodesh b'fnei atzmo, is it possible that just like in a vacuum, we would blow the chatzotzris for Rosh Chodesh musaf, as well as we blow the chatzotzris for a Shabbos musaf? What happens now when it's the same day? What happens when Rosh Chodesh is on Shabbos? Kach yu token al kol musaf v'musaf. Is it possible that also when they fall out on the same day, that when Rosh Chodesh is on Shabbos, and now you have the korban musaf of Rosh Chodesh as well as the korban musaf on Shabbos on the same day, is it possible that you would blow the chatzotzris for each one individually, for the musaf of Shabbos as well as for the musaf of Rosh Chodesh? Therefore, it says in the pasuk uvrosh chadshechem. We're going to explain how it's derived from that pasuk in a minute. But what do we see? We see that the answer is no. We see that we have a brisa saying that when you have Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, you do not blow the chatzotzris for each musaf individually, for the musaf of Shabbos as well as the musaf of Rosh Chodesh. No way, no how. You blow the chatzotzris only for one of the musafim. And we're going to see a little more about that a little bit soon. So tiyufta Rav Acha tiyufta, so there you go. That is, there's really not much Rav Acha Reb Chanina can do over there, because we have a brisa that seems to be refuting him. My Talmuda. So how do we learn out from uvrosh chadshechem that we would blow chatzotzis only for one of the musafim, not for both? Amar Abaye hot gesagt. Omar Kra, that the pasuk says uvrosh chadshechem hukshu kol chodashim kulum zelazeh. So Abaye says that uvroshe chodshechem. Roshe is plural. On your Rosh Chodeshes, that all of the Rosh Chodeshes have to be the same. And just like when Rosh Chodesh falls out on a Wednesday, you're only going to be blowing 9 blasts from the chatzotzis. So also, when Rosh Chodesh falls out on Shabbos, you're only going to blow 9 blasts of the chatzotzis, not 18. every Rosh Chodesh is always going to be the same. So we see that we do not, add additional blasts for additional musafin. Rav Ashi Omer, Ksiv Chadashchem. Rav Ashi says, Chodshechem is written Chodashchem, singular. Uchsiv Uvroshe, and yet but it also says Uvroshe, which is plural. So we have Uvroshe, which is plural, Chadashchem, which is singular. So we have the singular and the plural. How do what do we do with this? Ve'eze Chodesh sheyesh lo shnei roshim. What is a month that is sort of the first of multiple things? Haviyom is Rosh Hashanah. That's Rosh Hashanah. Because Rosh Hashanah is both the beginning of the year as well as the beginning of Tishrei, of that month. And still, the Torah is saying, even though it's Roshei, even though it's the head of two things, nonetheless, Chadashchem, it's singular in that we're only going to blow the Tkiyas for one of the Musafin. We're not going to blow Tkiyas times two, only Tkiyas times one. Ve'od Tanya, and we learn in the Brisa, B'chulul Shamoyed Barishin Mahayu Omrim. So on Chol HaMoed, right? So you have the first day of Sukkot is Yom Tov, and now days 2 through 7 is Chol HaMoed. So what was the Shir Shel Yom that they would say when they would bring the Korban Musaf? So Barishon, on the first day of Chol HaMoed, Mahayu Omrim, what would they say? Havul Hashem b'nei Elim. They would say the capital of Havul Hashem b'nei Elim. B'Shenim Mahayu Omrim. What do we say in the second day of Chol HaMoed? V'larashe Omer Elokim. The capital of V'larashe Omer Elokim, which is Tilim. I think it says Nun. B'Shlishi Mahayu Omrim. What did they say on the third day of Chol HaMoed? Miyakum li Mireim. Who will stand up to me, for me with the nudniks? What did they say on the fourth day of Chol HaMoed? Binu Boarim Ba'am, that the nudniks should understand. Also the talk of the same capital as the previous one. What did they say on the fifth day of Chol HaMoed? Hasirosu miseval shichmo, that he removes me from schlepping as a slave. What did they say on the sixth day of Chol HaMoed, Sukkot, which is Hoshayna Rabbah? Yimotu komos de'aretz, that the nudniks are going to make the foundations of the earth bend, which we want them to not be bent. And if Shabbos falls out in the middle of Chol HaMoed, so now you have the Musaf of Shabbos. So what happens to the capital of Tilim that they were supposed to say that day? Yimotu yidache. Yimotu gets pushed off. Ho ho. Friends, you hear what just happened? What we just said is that, so there's a certain capital of Tilim that they would say on each day of Chol HaMoed when they offered the Korban Musaf, but if Shabbos falls out in the middle of Chol HaMoed, well then you're not going to be saying that day's capital. Ha ha. Ha ha. And because you're not going to be saying that day's capital, because you're only going to say the one for Shabbos, not for the Chol HaMoed Sukkot. So we say that therefore the last one gets pushed off and you skip the last one. It never gets a chance to get said. You basically stay in the same order, and you're just never going to get around to the last one because you didn't say one on Shabbos, and you're just going to pick up where you left off on Sunday, and you're just never going to end up getting to the last one. Now, friends, so what's the significance of this? The significance of this is that apparently when you have Shabbos, the Musaf of Shabbos, as well as the Musaf of Sukkot, if Rav Acha bar B'chinin is correct, and you blow the chatzotzos on each one individually, well then just say the Shir Shal Yom of Shabbos when you bring the Musaf offering of Shabbos and you blow the chatzotzos for Shabbos. And then, according to Rav Acha bar B'chinin, comes the Musaf of Sukkot, then read the capital of Tilim of Sukkot, as well as blow the chatzotzos for Sukkot. But that doesn't seem to be what's happening over here. What we're saying is that you skip the capital of Sukkot, implying that there is no separate chatzotzos blasts. There is no separate capital Tilim when you offer the Musaf of Sukkot. And rather, it's all going to be one shofar chatzotzos blasts for both the Korban Musaf of Shabbos as well as for sukkos. Not like, so that's against Rav Acha bar Chanina. Rav Safra Monach Bu Simona. Rav Safra had like a Rashi Tevis, so I don't know. What is that thing called when you like put something together so that you remember it? Ich weiß nicht. It's called a pseudonym, a homonym. It's neither one of those. I don't know, the thing, a rumeric, a turmeric, a mnemonic. I think that's actually right. I think a mnemonic, maybe somebody. Akoponim. So Rav Safra Monach Bu Simona Hombai. We're going to assume it's called a mnemonic. So Rav Safra would make a mnemonic to remember which capital they would say each day of Chol HaMoed, Humbahi, using the first letter of each sort of pasuk. Okay? Rav Papa Monach Bu Simona Humhabi. Whereas Rav Papa switched around the bays and the hay, instead of Humbahi, it's Humhabi. Very nice. V'simonach amavua desifrei. So, if you want to remember who says what, so Safra is the one who says Humbahi, because Humbahi is like a mavui, a mavuha, like a mavui. And in the mavui is where the teachers would teach the students like the svarim, the books. And therefore, if you want to remember who says what, Rav Safra says amavuha, just like there's like in the mavui, they learn the books. Let's go weiter. Tiyuvta de Rav Acha bar Chanina Tiyuvta. So we see from this brisa as well that it's lights out for Rav Acha bar Chanina, because we seem to be saying in this brisa that when Chol HaMoed falls out on Shabbos, we would not be saying the capital Tilim of Chol HaMoed, of Sukkos, implying that we're only going to be blowing the Chatzotzos once for both the Musaf of Shabbos as well as the Musaf of Sukkos. V'har Rav Acha bar Chanina kro masniso kamer. Fact the Gemara. Rav Acha bar Chanina, he didn't just make up his opinion out of thin air. He brought a brisa. What did we say yesterday? Ki also, I'm reading from Nundal Roman Aleph. Ki also Rav Acha bar Chanina midaroma aisa masnisa biyadei uvnei aharna keanim yisku b'chatzotzos. Rav Acha bar Chanina was quoting a brisa that quoted a pasuk, and the brisa then said, what did the brisa say? Hakol lefi musaf and token, that you blow based on the korban musaf. And Rav Acha bar Chanina explained that means that you're going to blow tkiyas, you're going to blow the chatzozos for each and every musaf individually. But that's the key to understanding the problem right there, is that Rav Acha bar Chanina explained it that way. But who says he's explaining correctly? All the brisa said was hakol lefi musaf and token. You blow based on the musaf. Rav Acha bar Chanina wanted to explain that what that means is that you blow tkiyas for every single musaf. But he might not be right about that. So while the brisa, we're not going to argue with the brisa, but Rav Acha bar Chanina's interpretation of the brisa may not be correct. Or apparently is not correct, since it conflicts with other brisas. So Rav Acha bar Chanina kro masnisa kamer. Rav Acha bar Chanina brought a brisa that quoted a pasuk, and it seems to be saying like what he's saying. Ravina says Ravina, but it's not like Rav Acha bar Chanina explains. He explains it wrong. Rather, the way to understand the brisa when it says hakol lefi musaf and token, lomer shemayrichin b'tkiyas. It means that hakol lefi musaf and token, what it means is that when they blow the tkiyas, they're only going to blow the tkiyas once, right? 9 times, not 9 times 2, 9 times 1. But they make sure to finish the tkiyas not when the first korban musaf is done, but when the second korban musaf is done. So meaning, whereas in general they would blow the tkiyas just on the korban musaf of Shabbos, but now that it's also Sukkos, you have to make sure that you don't finish the tkiyas until after the korban musaf of Sukkos has been offered as well. So basically, you make sure that these one set of tkiyas last for all of the musafim that need to be offered, but you're not going to blow a separate, set of 9 tkiyas for each individual korban musaf. That is not going to happen. That's not in the cards. Okay, let's go weiter. Rabbana de Kesari Mishmei Rav Acha Amrei Lomer Shem Marbe Betoken. So it just means that they add chatzotzos, right? They add blowers. So keilu, so akol lefi musaf and token. So if it's just a regular korban musaf of Shabbos, so you have two trumpet blowers. But now that it's a korban musaf of Shabbos as well as Sukkot, so you add more trumpet blowers, you make it more gishmak. Okay, sounds very nice to me. Gishmak sounds okay to me, I guess. It sounds alright. Yeah, I guess it depends. Whatever. Let's go weiter. But whatever. They want to make it more geschmack, so they do. Okay. Where are we? So we who have Sveika Diyoma, what do we do? So we had just mentioned a minute ago that basically, when Shabbos falls out on in the middle of Chol HaMoed, so we're not going to be able to say all of the kapitel tilim for each of the days of Chol HaMoed, right? Because Shabbos is going to be in the middle, and we're not going to be saying the Sukkot kapitel on Shabbos. Rather, we're going to say the Shabbos one on Shabbos. So we had said that Yimotu, the last kapitel, basically gets dropped. So what the Gemara wants to know is that, so on Chol HaMoed Sukkot, basically in our lives in 2021, it is right now. So Sukkot is coming up soon, actually, and it's going to be Chol HaMoed Sukkot, and we're going to daven Musaf. And in the Musaf, we mentioned the korbanos of the day of today, right? Vayom Hasheni, Vayom Hashlishi, whatever it is. We're also going to read it from the Torah. And so in Eretz Yisrael, where Sukkot is 7 days, and we know each day which one it is, so it's easy. So Ki'ilu, on the first day of Sukkot, you say, on the first day, these are the korbanos that we offer. On the second day of Sukkot, we'll say, on the second day, these are the korbanos. On the third day, these are the korbanos. What about Chutz La'aretz, where there's Yom Tov Sheni Shagalios, where there's Sveika Diyoma? We actually have 2 days of Yom Tov at the beginning. And then every day, we're not sure which is which. So basically, comes the first day of Chol HaMoed, so whereas in Eretz Yisrael, the first day of Chol HaMoed is the second day of Sukkot. It's a davar pashit. There's no question. And therefore, so Musaf will say on the second day, these are the korbanos. But in Chutz La'aretz, where we have Sveika Diyoma, and therefore Yom Tov, the first day of Sukkot, the Yom Tov isn't just 1 day, it's 2 days. Chol HaMoed only begins on day 3 of Sukkot. So now, whereas in Eretz Yisrael, on the first day of Chol HaMoed, you'll say that in Musaf, on the second day, these are the korbanos. But in Chutz La'aretz, what do? The first day of Chol HaMoed is no longer the second day of Sukkot. It's actually the third, but really, technically, it's really supposed to be the second, because it's only supposed to be 1 day of Yom Tov, but we're not sure which day is which. So therefore, we add another day of Yom Tov, and now Chol HaMoed, the first day of Chol HaMoed is really the third day of Sukkot now, but technically speaking, it's supposed to be the second. So what do? Do you say Uvayom Hasheni on the first day of Chol HaMoed? Do we say, okay, fine, so we'll mention the korbanos that you offer on the second day, because technically speaking, the first day of Chol HaMoed should be the second day of Sukkot, right? Just because of the Sveika Diyoma, we add another day of Yom Tov. So do you read the korbanos of day 2, which then also memela means that when you get to day 6 of Chol HaMoed, you're going to be reading the korbanos of day 6, but then the next day on Shmini Atzeres, you're not going to mention the 7th day of Sukkot, because that would make it Chol HaMoed, but it's going to be Yom Tov of Shmini Atzeres already, so basically you're going to miss out on the 7th one. You're just never going to end up saying the korbanos and Musaf of the 7th day of Sukkot. Or do you say, you know what? Let's just skip day 2. We'll never say day 2 in Musaf. Meaning, because on the first 2 days of Yom Tov, of Sukkot, you're going to have to say in Musaf the korbanos of the first day, because after all, you're celebrating it. It's a day of Yom Tov. So clearly you're treating it as if the first day. You can't mention the second day if it's Yom Tov, because the second day is Chol HaMoed. You can't be saying the korbanos of the second day, because that would make it a Chol HaMoed, but today's Yom Tov. So, or maybe instead of on the first day of Chol HaMoed Sukkot, don't mention the korbanos of the second day, because it's already day 3 of Sukkot. Rather mention the korbanos of day 3, and we'll just skip day 2. We'll just never say the korbanos of day 2 in Musaf. And then when you get to the Hoshana Rabbah, you'll be saying the korbanos of day 7, and then on Shmini Atzeres, you mention the korbanos of Shmini Atzeres. But you'll never have said the korbanos of the second day of Sukkot. So, therefore, what are we saying? So we're saying, Lemaise, we want to know. So nowadays, where we have Sveika Diyoma, outside of Eretz Yisrael, of course. So we have Sveika Diyoma. So in Musaf, do we basically, on day 1 of Chol HaMoed, do we say the korbanos for the second day? On day 2 of Chol HaMoed, we say the korbanos of the third day, etc. But that means that when we come up to Hoshana Rabbah, we're only up to day 6 of the korbanos, and we'll just never ever say day 7. Day 7 will get lost. Or do we say that on the first day of Chol HaMoed, which is in Chutz La'aretz, it's day 3 of Sukkot already, so we just start from the Korbanos of day 3. When we get up to Hoshana Rabbah, we're saying the Korbanos of day 7, but we never would have said the Korbanos of day 2. So, do we drop day 2 or do we drop day 7? So, so what do we do? Do we drop day 2 or do we drop day 7? Rav Amar Shvi Yidache. No. Abaye Amar Sheni Yidache, Rav Amar Shvi Yidache. So Abaye says, drop day 2. On the first day of Chol Hamoed, say the Korbanos of the third day of Sukkot. Rav says Shvi Yidache. Rav says, no, we drop day 7. On the first day of Chol Hamoed, we say the Korbanos of day 2. And then on the second day of Chol Hamoed, we say day 3. And then on Hoshana Rabbah, we're saying the Korbanos of day 6. And on Shmini Atzeres already, we have to talk about Shmini Atzeres. We're never going to mention day 7. Tanekavose di Rave, and we have a brisa that supports Rave because we said Im Chol Shabbos Lios be'echad mein Yimotu Yidache, and says the Gemara that we talk about a brisa to support Rave because, as we said a few minutes ago, that we have the capital Tehillim for each day of Chol Hamoed, and if Shabbos falls out in the middle of Chol Hamoed, so then you're not going to be saying the capital of that day of Chol Hamoed because you're going to be saying the Shir Shayom of Shabbos instead. And then you pick up where you left off on Sunday, which means that Memele, we're never going to end up getting to Yimotu, which is the last capital. So just like the last capital is the one to go when it comes to the Shir Shayom by the Korbanos, so also the Musaf, in mentioning, which Korbanos of that day of Musaf on Chol Hamoed, it's going to be day 7 that gets dropped. Asking Ameimar ben Ardoya, the Medal Gedaluge, so Ameimar, and this is what we do, L'maisa in Chutz La'aretz, at least Ashkenazim, a Meimar Narda, what he would do is he would do both. So Kilu on day 1 of Chol Hamoed, he would say the Musaf of the second day of Sukkot as well as the third day. He would say both days. And also you would incorporate it into the Kriyas HaTorah as well. So that way you don't end up, it's not all or none. You don't end up completely skipping day 2 or day 7. Rather, you say both of them so that you cover all your bases in Musaf. Alright, sounds very nice to me. Okay, I flip the page to Daf Nun Amud Beis, and we get to a new Mishnah at the top. Yom Tiv Arishin Shel Chag Hayu Sham Yud Gimel Parim. Ooh-wah. Then on the first day of Sukkot, there were 13 cows. Now the Pari Achag, the cows of Sukkot decrease in number every single day. First day is 13, then 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Let's do the math. 13 and 12 is 25. Plus 11 is 36. Plus 10 is 46. Plus 9 is 54. Plus 8 is 62. Oh no, I messed up. Wait, I think we had 36 at one point. Alright, start again. 13 and 12 is 25. Plus 11 is 36. Plus 10 is 46. Plus 9 is 55. I think I messed up somewhere. 55 plus 8 is 63 plus 7 is 70. Boom. Nailed it. Alright, second time. It's okay. Alright, second time is fine. It's acceptable, I think. We got it right, Lamaisa. 70. Total of 70 cows give up their lives for the Yidden on Sukkot. So Yom Tov Arishin Shel Chag Hayu Sham Yud Gimel Parim. So on the first day of Yom Tov of Sukkot, there's 13 cows. Elim Shnaim, 2 rams, V'sayir Echad, and 1 goat. Nishtai Risham Yudal Kvasim. And now there are 14 sheep as well. So, 13 cows, 2 rams, 1 goat, 14 sheep. Great. Of those, every single day, there's going to be 1 less cow. The rams, the goat, and the sheep all remain the same. Now, there are 24 mishmaros. We've learned about the mishmaros here and there, that the mishmaros, where all the Kohanim were divided up into 24 groups. Each group would serve 1 week in the Beis Hamikdash every year. Now, on the Shalosh Regalim, all of the mishmaros would work in the Beis Hamikdash. And the way that they would divide up the work on Sukkot is that 1 mishmar would be responsible for each animal. So, on the first day of Sukkot, there are 13 cows. So, 1 mishmar would be responsible for each cow. 1 mishmar would be responsible for each ram, for each goat, for each sheep. So, what we're saying is that, so there are 24 mishmaros. Between the cows and the rams and the goat, so the rams and the goat are always going to be 3. Now on the first day, the cows are 13. So 3 and 13 is 16. 1 mishmar for each. So that means that there are 16 mishmaros that are going to be working on the cows, the rams, and the goat. Now, the sheep, there are 14 more, and there are 18 mishmaros that are unaccounted for yet. Did I say 18? 8. Right? 16 between the cows, the rams, and the goat. There are 8 that haven't done anything yet. So again, Yom Tov Rishon Shel Chag, Hayusham Yud Gimel Parman. The first day of Sukkot there were 13 cows. Elim Shnayim V'Sar Echad, 2 rams and 1 goat. That's a total of 16. And you would have 1 mishmar working on each. Nishtayu Sham Yudal Kvasim L'Shmona Mishmaros. So now you have 14 sheep left over for 8 mishmars. So how do you divide that up? By Yom Rishon Shisha Makrivin Shnayim Shnayim. So on the first day you'll have 6 of those 8 mishmaros offering 2 sheep each. So 6 times 2 is 12. And so 6 of the mishmaros are responsible for 2 each, which is 12. And now you have 2 mishmaros left over. And you also have 2 sheep left over. V'ashar echad echad. And then the 2 remaining mishmaros do 1 sheep each. And now you've covered all your animals. Basheni, on the second day of Sukkot, there's no longer 13 cows, there's 12 cows. So between the 12 cows, the 2 rams, and the 1 goat, that's a total of 15. And you're going to have 15 mishmaros working on those, which means that there are 9 mishmaros who haven't gone yet, and there are 14 sheep. So makrivin shnayim, where am I? B'sheni chamisha makrivin shnayim. So now, you have 9 mishmaros who haven't done anything, and 14 sheep. So we're saying 5 of the remaining 9 mishmaros will offer 2 each. So that gets you 10 of the 14 sheep. Now there are 4 sheep left over, and there are 4 mishmaros left over. So, ve'ashar echod echod. Okay. And basically the same formula is going to continue for the rest of the days of Sukkot, right? Basically there's 1 less cow, which means 1 less mishmar to be accounted for there, but 1 more mishmar to help out with the sheep, and therefore we're going to have to figure out, how many sheep for each remaining mishmar. So Bashlishi, on the 3rd day of Sukkot, where there were 11 cows, so that means that you have 10 mishmaros for the sheep. So Dalad Makrivin Shnayim Shnayim, so 4 of them will do 2 each, which is a total of 8 sheep, and that leaves us 6 sheep remaining, as well as 6 mishmaros remaining. V'ashar echad echad, and therefore the rest do 1 sheep each. Barvi'i Shlosha Makrivin Shnayim Shnayim. On the 4th day, you have 11 extra mishmaros, so 3 of them do 2 each, which is a total of 6, and then 14 minus 6 is 8 exactly, and 11 minus 3 is 8, so 1 each. V'ashar echad echad. V'chamishi Shnayim Makrivin Shnayim Shnayim. On the 5th day, so you'll have 2 of these extra mishmaros doing 2 sheep each. V'ashar echad echad, and the rest do 1 each. V'shishi echad makriv Shnayim. On the 6th day, so 1 of the remaining mishmaros do 2 sheep. V'ashar echad echad, then the rest of them do 1 each. V'shvi'i kulan shavin. And on the 7th day of Sukkot, the final day of Sukkot, there are 14 remaining mishmaros, and right, because there's only 7 cows on the last day, which means that between the 7 cows and the 2 rams and the 1 goat, that's a total of 10, which means that there are 14 mishmaros left over, 14 sheep, 1 sheep for each mishmar. I didn't go into detail for each and every day because it's really the same formula, and I don't know that there's enough value in breaking our brain over it. I've worked it out before. It works. You could do it in your head. Subtract 1 less cow, which means that there's 1 more mishmar for the sheep. Divide up, do like remainders and all that stuff. In computer program, we call it modulo. You'll do 14 modulo, the number of mishmaros, and that'll get you your remainders and all sorts of fun stuff. Let's go weiter. Bashmini chazu lefayis ki barigalim. When it comes to Shmini Atzeres, now this sort of democratic thing kind of goes away. I don't know if democratic probably isn't the right way to explain this, but basically, if anything, I guess the lotteries are technically democratic. Although democracy isn't quite a lottery; it's more of a vote than a lot. Akoponim. Let's get back to the Mishnah. So it comes Shmini Atzeres. We go back to the lottery system. The lottery system that, of course, we learned about Masechta Yoma. That basically they would draw a lottery for who gets to do which korbanos, because on Shmini Atzeres there was only one cow, 1 ram, and 7 sheep, I think. Something like that. So, let's see. What does it say? Par echad v'ayel echad v'shivek kvasim. There you go. Let's go weiter. So, on Shmini Atzeres, chazu l'fayis, they would just go back to the lottery system, kibar regalim, just like on any other shalosh regalim. Amru, mishekriv par mayom, lo yakiv l'macher elechozun chalila. So now, just in terms of how they would work out on Sukkot, the cows, right? We said it started out at 13 cows, and then 12 cows, 11 cows, and then there would be the sheep, the rams, the goat. So basically the cow, everybody wanted to work with the cows. So on the first day, they would basically go in order. There was a certain order of mishmaros, right? One mishmar would be each week of the year. There was a certain order. So they would go in order of the mishmaros. So on the first day of Sukkot, there were 13 cows. So the first 13 mishmaros would get a cow. Now on the second day, there were 12 cows. So there were 11 mishmaros who didn't get a cow on the first day, because there are a total of 24. 13 got on the first day, 11 didn't. So those 11 all get a cow on the second day. Now there's one extra cow, so then the first mishmar will get the extra cow on the second day. And now what happens is, you have one mishmar now got 2 cows so far, all the other mishmaros only got 1 cow. Comes day 3, there are 11 cows, and then you basically have the next 11 mishmaros will get the cows. And as Sukkot goes on, what will end up happening is that of the 24 mishmaros, 22 of them got 3 cows, and 2 of them got 22 of them got 3 cows, 2 of them got 2 cows. That's what's going to happen at the end l'maaseh, right? Because if you do 24 times 3, who could tell me what 24 times 3 is? Fine, I'll do it myself, no problem. 24 times 2 is 48, plus 20 is 68, plus 4 is 72. Now there's only 70 cows to go around, so there's going to be 2 that aren't going to get to go 3 times. Zot the Gemara, name of Masnisin Rebbe v'lo Rabbanon. Let's say that our Mishnah that says that on Shmini Atzeres we just go back to the regular old lottery, and we have all the 24 mishmaros, and we just draw a lottery for who gets to do what. Let's say that that's the opinion of Rebbe, and it's not the opinion of the rabbis. The Tanya, as we learned in the Brisa, Parababa Shmini, Batchila Mafisin Olav Div Rebbe. That Rebbe says that when it comes to Shmini Atzeres, l'maaseh, so we just go back to doing a regular old lottery. Which sounds like it's just like what our Mishnah is saying. Whereas the Chachamim say, Achas mishtei mishmaros de lo shilshu b'parim osa. Whereas the rabbi's opinion is that no, when it comes to Shmini Atzeres, as we had mentioned a minute ago, there were 2 mishmaros who, drew up the stick, or whatever it is, got the wrong stick, or whatever the phrase is, pulled up the short stick, or whatever it is. So there were 2 mishmaros that only got to get 2 cows, not 3. So the Chachamim say that on Shmini Atzeres, one of these 2 mishmaros has their opportunity to get a 3rd cow. There's 1 cow in Shmini Atzeres. One of the 2 mishmaros that only got to offer 2 cows, not 3, they can offer the cow of Shmini Atzeres. So therefore, it sounds like we're not doing a regular lottery. Our Mishnah said that on Shmini Atzeres we go back to doing a lottery. Whereas it sounds like according to the Chachamim, it's not quite a lottery. We give it to one of the 2 mishmaros that only got 2 cows. Afilu Temer Rabbanan, to which the Gemara says, no, you can even argue that our Mishnah is like the Rabbanan, because Atu Shtei Mishmaros La'afuse Ba'u. Because after all, okay, fine, so there were 2 mishmaros that only got to do 2 cows, not 3. How do we determine which of these 2 mishmaros is going to do the cow of Shmini Atzeres? We'll do a lottery. So therefore, you can even say that when the Mishnah says that on Shmini Atzeres we do a lottery, maybe that's not necessarily a lottery for all of the mishmaros. Maybe it's a lottery to figure out which of the 2 mishmaros that only went twice so far are going to get the cow of Shmini Atzeres. So therefore, it could even be the rabbis, right? So as according to Rebbe, he would say that on Shmini Atzeres it becomes a general lottery. That all the 24 mishmaros get in on the lottery, and whoever gets it, gets it. Whereas according to Chachamim, say no, in the lottery there are really only 2 contenders, which are the 2 mishmaros that only got to do 2 cows over Sukkot, not 3. Weiter. K'man azlo adetanya. Like who goes the following brisa? That all of the mishmaris, all of the 24 mishmaris get to do 3 cows over the course of Sukkot. Chutz mishnei mishmaros, with the exception of 2 of the mishmaros, sheshonos ve'mishalshos, that they only get to do 2 cows, not 3. Name a Rebbe. Let's say that it's Rebbe, v'lo Rabbanon. Let's say it's Rebbe, not the rabbis, because according to rabbis, there aren't 2 mishmaros that only end up doing 2. There's actually only 1 that only ends up doing 2, because on Shmini Atzeres, we give that cow memele to the one of the 2 that only went twice and not 3 times. So memele, by the end of Shmini Atzeres, actually 23 out of 24, only 1 mishmar has only done 2 cows. So afilu temer Rabbanan, the Gemara answers, you can even say that this brisa could be the rabbis, and what it means, Milo shilshu b'pari echad. What it means is that there are going to be 2 mishmaros that only did 2 cows on Sukkot. Sure, one of them may have gotten the cow of Shmini Atzeres, but that's a different thing. It's an under azach. It's a different thing. So, but on Sukkot itself, there are going to be two mishmaros that did not get an opportunity to go 3 times. Umay kamash malon. What's the chiddush over here? Hakamash malon. What it's teaching us is mishikriv par mayom lo yakriv l'machar lechozun chalila. What we're saying is what we had said at the end of the Mishnah, which is that we make sure that whoever offered a cow today is not going to be offering a cow tomorrow. That every day we're going to be offering the mishmaros that didn't have a chance to offer a cow the previous day to do it today. In that way we ensure, so it's not just like, completely random, in which case you'll have some mishmaros doing more, some mishmaros doing less. No, rather we spread it out evenly so that all of the mishmaros have the opportunity to offer 3 cows. Just mathematically there are going to be 2 of them that are only going to be able to offer 2, but we do try our best to spread them out as much as possible. Amr Balazar, Haneshivim Parm Kineged me. These 70 cows that we calculated earlier, and I got it right on my second try, what do they represent? What do these 70 cows represent? Kineged Shivim Umis. Ho ho. They represent the 70 nations. Par Yechidi Lama. And what about the 1 cow that's offered on Shmini Atzeres? Kineged Uma Yechida. Ho ho. It represents the singular nation. Moshel Melech Basar Vadam. It's a parable to a king of flesh and blood, Shamel Avadav, that he said to his servants, Osuli Suda Gedola, make me a big Givaldige Suda. Layom Achrin, and then on the last day, Amile Ohavo, Asili Suda Ketana Kadeshe Ehona Mimcha, he says to the one who he loves, he says, now, I would like for you to make me a cute little Suda so that I can get Hanoah from spending time with you and being with you. Meaning, so he makes this big feast, party, festival for all of his servants. But on the last day, he makes a special Suda just for the people who he loves particularly greatly. And therefore also, during Sukkot, the big festival, we have the 70 korbanos for the 70 nations, the 70 cows for the 70 nations. Come Shmini Atzeres, so then the Eibishter says to the one nation, just bring me 1 cow and let's spend some quality time together. Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, woe is to the idol worshippers that they lost out and they don't even know what they lost. That when there was a Beis Hamikdash, so the altar would atone for them as well with the offerings that we would offer, with the sacrifices that we would bring. And now there's no Mizbeach, and they lose out as well. Zot the Mishneh b'shlosha prakim b'shoneh. How you call Mishmar Shavos? Ho ho. So on the 3 regalim, on the 3 festivals, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, all of the Mishmaris would be equal. Be'emurei regalim, with the parts of the animals that they could chop. So for example, the olas re'iyah, the korban olas that people would bring, they would all share the hides equally. The shalmei chagiga, the shlamim, so the chazav ashok, the breast and the thigh, they would all divide equally. Uvechilik lechem aponim, also on Shabbos of the shalosh regalim, they would all be able to chap a shtickle from the 12 of the lechem apanim, from the 12 lechem apanim breads. Ba'atzeres, on Shavuos, if Shavuos falls out on Shabbos, so then you have the lechem apanim, which was changed every Shabbos, and the Kohanim would eat it, and also the shtei alechem, the 2 wheat breads that they would offer on Shavuos. So then, Omer lo, heilach matzah, heilach chametz. So they would dish it out to divide it up among all the Kohanim, from all the mishmaros, and they would say, here's some matzah, because the lechem apanim was matzah, as we've learned in the past, and here's chametz, because the shtei alechem on Shavuos was taka chametz. It was one of the only breads in the Beis Hamikdash that was chametz. Mishmar shizmano kavua hu makriv tmidin nedarim unedavis. Ushar korbanos tzibor makriv esakol. Now the mishmar shizmano kavua kilu on the shalosh regalim, so all the mishmaros would participate, but there still is one mishmar whose mishmar it was for that week. Now, as we've seen on this Amud, all of the mishmaros would partake on the korbanos that are related to the festival. However, there were still things that had to happen, still regular things that had to happen. There was still a tamid shel shachar, there was still a tamid shel bein arabayim, there were still, people when they come for the shalosh regalim, they would bring nidarim and nidavis that they had pledged throughout the year. Like this work had to be done by the mishmar who was working that week. So while all the festival stuff was divided and shared by all of the mishmaros, but sort of the nitty gritty work that still needed to get done, that was done by the mishmar of that week, such as the tamid shel shachar, tamid shel bein arabayim, nidarim, nidavis, right? So mishmar shezmano kavua, the mishmar of that week, hu makriv tmidin, so they're going to do the tamid shel shachar, tamid shel bein arabayim, nidarim, nidavos, right? Offerings that people had pledged, ushar korbanos tzibor, and other communal offerings, umakriv esakol, and they offer everything. The Gemara is going to have to explain what that means, that they offer everything. Emura regalim shagavon, and ufek the Gemara, what do you mean that the 24 mishmaros, they divide up the emurim? What are the emurim? The emurim are generally the parts of the animals that go on the mizbeach and goes up to God. So what do you mean that they divide up those parts? Those parts are going to God. Emura regalim shagavon, that goes to the Eibishter. Amr of Chizda says of Chizda, who of course was a Kohen, Masha Amur Baragalim. No, it doesn't mean the emurim. It doesn't mean the parts that go on the mizbeach. What it means is the korbanis that are mentioned on the regalim, i.e., all of the 70 cows and the rams and the stuff like that. So they get to divide up, or like the olas re'iyah, the shami chagiga, they get to divide up those hides and the chazav v'shok, etc. How do we know that all of the mishmaros divide up equally on these korbanos of the shalosh regalim? Talmud Lomar uva b'chol avas nafsho v'sheres. It says that the kohen can come to Yerushalayim and he could serve. Is it possible that this works out like this the rest of the days of the year as well? Whenever a kohen wants, he can come to the Beis Hamikdash and serve. It says in that pasuk from one gate. I only said this at the time when all the Yidden are coming to Yerushalayim together. Meaning on the Shalosh Regalim, so any kohen can serve in the Beis Hamikdash. But the rest of the year, there's a mishmar for each week, and you have to be part of that mishmar in order to serve in the temple. Friends, that was Daf Nun Hey of Masechta Sukkah. So the first Amud of Daf Nun Hey, we really focused on almost like disproving the opinion of Rav Acha bar Chanina. Rav Acha bar Chanina, of course, had said that when there are multiple musaf offerings on a given day, so you offer, you blow the chatzotzres for each musaf. We ended up basically proving that wrong, and you're only going to blow chatzotzres for one of the musafin. Now, then the kasha is okay, but what about the brisa that Rav Acha bar Chanina brought, which said hakol lefi musafin token, that you blow based on the musafs, which Rav Acha bar Chanina argued means that you'd blow chatzotzres for each and every musaf. So we had two opinions. We had the opinion of Ravina, who says that what it means that you make sure that you finish the chatzotzres when you finish the final musaf. Right? So as normally you would blow the chatzotzres with just one of the musafim, when there are multiple musafim, make sure that when you finish blowing the chatzotzres, it's at the end of the final musaf of the day. And then there was the opinion of the Rabbanan to Kesari, Mishmei de Rav Acha, who says that what it means is that they would bring out more trumpeters, and there would be more trumpets, and they would, and that's how they would do it. Then we got to an interesting shaila very interesting shaila, it's Lemaise, about nowadays when we have Yom Tov Sheni Shagalias, and you're in shul, or not in shul, and you're davening musaf, and you have to say the korbanos of the day. So the first day of Chol HaMoed, is technically the first day of Chalamot should be the second day of Sukkot, but because technically nowadays it's the third day because of the double Yom Tov days, and so do you say in Musaf the third day or the second day? So Abaye said that you skip the second day, you drop the second day, and you go straight to the third day. Rava says no, you say the second day, and in the end you're going to end up dropping the seventh day. Then we saw that Amemar says in Arda, which Lamai says at least what the Ashkenazim do, which is that you're going to say both. On the first day of Chalamot, you say the Musaf of day 2 as well as day 3. And you always kind of include both, so you don't have to completely drop one or the other. Then the Gemara discussed, then we saw a new Mishnah that explains that all the 24 Mishmaros would offer all the offerings of each day of Sukkot. And each offering, there were, on each day, there were a bunch of cows, there were 2 rams, a goat, 14 sheep. And we figured out, and each day, so the cows goes down in number. It starts at 13, goes all the way down to 7. And they would basically figure out how to work out. There would be 1 mishmar for each of the cows, for each of the rams, and for the goat. And then the leftover mishmaros would figure out how to divide up the 14 sheep. We saw machlokas between Rebbe and the Chachamim about on Shmini Atzeres. How do we work out the lotteries? According to Rebbe, the lotteries on Shmini Atzeres were open to any of the Mishmaros. According to the Chachamim, that the lottery was just between the 2 Mishmaros who hadn't yet had an opportunity to offer 3 cows on Sukkot, because mathematically there are going to be 2 Mishmaros that don't get to go 3 times. They're only going to go twice. And then we got to another Mishnah at the end, which says that on the Shalosh Regalim, basically all the Mishmaros divide equally on the Korbanos related to the Regalim. But that with regard to what? With regard to like the regular things like Talmud Shel Shachar, Talmud Shel Ben Arbaim, the Mishmar whose role it was for that week is going to do those korbanos. Friends, that was daf 55. I look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow for the final daf of Masechta Sukkah. Peace out.